We are recording, I believe. Welcome, Queens, to another podcast episode on YouTube. I'm very excited to share this one today because today, as you can see, if you're watching the video, I have a guest, and the guest is Marianne, and Marianne is my doula, was my doula / is my doula. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you very much. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
those of us that don't know what a doula is, do you want to describe in your own words what a doula actually is? Because it's a lot more than what I thought it was when I first reached out to you.
What were your thoughts on what was a doula?
Good question.
Yeah.
So, we'll go into my pregnancy and birth journey, which is the point of this as well, shortly. But when
Mhm.
I got pregnant, as you know, it wasn't a planned thing, which I'm so grateful it did happen. So, the reason I've shared that is because I've never really looked into pregnancy, babies, birth. Like, I've never been in that world because I just wasn't interested, in all honesty. I'd rather talk about animals and the gym and personal development instead of babies. So, when I did get pregnant, my spiritual development that I was already in led me to check out, birth stories and how can I make this birth a beautiful experience. And I came across a doula, like the word doula. So I looked into like what that was, and what my interpretation of a doula was someone like a coach who guides you through pregnancy and birth, and just someone who has your back, someone who gets it, which you
Mhm.
were, but it was more than that for me, which I will share as we go on, I'm sure. So is that a good description? How would you describe it?
I think it is a good description, but it depends on the question of my clients. So I have all different clients with different needs or different uh, ideas of or perspectives of how birth should be.
Mm.
But I think a birth coach is, um, uh, well, I think giving birth is more than just a physical act of
Yeah.
delivering the baby into this world. So when I coach my clients, I'm not coaching them to give birth. Of course, I am. So we prepare physically and practically to give birth.
Mm.
We prepare to give labor to the birthday, but also it is, I think, the process or even the transformation from woman to mother and from
Mm.
man to father is an even bigger process than you might imagine, and that's a bigger coaching talk or a bigger subject to discuss and to guide and uh, to address. And
Yeah.
sometimes we dive into, and we did. Um,
Mhm.
we dived deep into the subject, and sometimes it's just more about the someone's fears, someone's um, perspective on labor.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I would say from your perspective, when did we first meet? So how far into my pregnancy was I? It was quite early on, wasn't it? Was
quite
it like
early
4
on.
months
Yeah.
on or something like that?
Sorry, what did you say?
Was it 4 months? Was I 4 months pregnant when I reached out to you? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. It might have been somewhat earlier.
Right, probably because I was organized and
Yeah.
and doing research and
Yeah.
things.
I don't have my notes on it, but I in my head it is you were just past 12 weeks, between
Yeah,
12 and 14 weeks. So
yeah,
three, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't think you were four
not
months
far,
already. No.
no. Would you say from your perspective when as you got to know me, that I had fear around birth? Because I didn't think I did, and I had a lot to work on emotionally, which we'll go into, but
Mhm.
I think I came to you not in fear. What was your interpretation of how meeting me and then how I was seeing the birth that was upcoming?
Yeah, I remember you said that you weren't scared of giving birth, but I think there was an underlying
Mm,
fear. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So from the beginning, yeah, I noticed, but yeah, that's the beauty of a longer process together.
Mm.
because I get to know you very well, both you and your husband. I get to know you very well. So I think you hide it, you hid it for
Yeah.
yourself also.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like me
Because
saying I'm not scared, but then unconsciously actually being scared, but kind of not even acknowledging that within myself.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just by saying, I'm not scared, no, I'm not scared, I was like, well, if you're not scared, you don't have to say that you're not scared. Because
Yeah.
if you're not scared, then it's not an issue to
Mm.
mention.
Very true. That is
Yeah.
very true. I'm smiling a lot because it's the truth. And
Yeah.
so you came to our house, so just so someone is understanding like how you work, because you work online as well. So if someone is listening to this who is pregnant and does want a doula, you don't have to be living in the Netherlands to have your support through
No,
pregnancy and birth. No,
no,
just to
no,
make
you
that clear.
don't have to.
And
Yeah.
so you came round to our house for probably about 2 to 3 hours at a time, like once every month up until the main event, until it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
What surprised me and what I really loved is you started off by first of all getting to know us a bit, of course, me and my husband
Mhm.
Wouter, and then sharing a bit of practical things about how birth works. Because I didn't even know, I mean, I knew the baby came out of your vagina and that was it. I didn't
Yeah.
know like how your body worked. I didn't know what the word dilation meant. Like I'd heard it in movies and when people have talked about it. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't realize what your body actually does during
Yeah.
labor. So I learned a ton there. But what surprised me was you dove into our birth story with my birth from my mother, me being born into the world, and
Yeah.
Wouter, my husband's birth being him born into the world. And a lot came up around that. Do you want to explain just a little bit on why you do that?
Yeah, yeah, I will. Well, yeah, we started, we had, I think, 5 meetings.
Yeah.
And we started, we took it step by step. So you didn't know anything, you both didn't know anything about the whole process. So that's a
Mm.
first.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, my intuition was like, you get it quickly enough, so we have enough time for other
Mm.
things to speak about. But yeah, your own experience of coming into this world has an impact on how you now are looking forward to the birth experience when you're pregnant yourself, or for
Mm.
Wouter, when he witnesses or is present with the birth of his child.
Mm.
And how that works is, as human beings, we are all coming from our mother's womb, and in the womb we are living 9 months in the presence of your mother. So
Mm.
not only the heartbeat, not only the physical, so the heartbeat and the blood stream and the movements and her voice and etc., but also her the impact of her environment on her
Mm.
well-being. So her emotions, her feelings, her responses to situations. We
Mm.
also go through that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also like as if we, as a baby, are 9 months in like a little marinade of
Mm.
your mother's experiences.
Yeah.
Um, and as a baby, from the early stage up to until around 9 months after birth, they babies see themselves as the same person as their mother.
Wow.
So only after 9 months they begin to learn to see that they are a separate person.
Mm.
That's when the whole separation anxiety, etc., comes from.
Yeah.
But that means that the experience of your mother during pregnancy is also your own experience, without
Yeah.
even knowing, because we don't have an how do you call it, an active memory of
Yeah.
those situations. But well, your body keeps the score, so your body
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
it manifests in different ways as adults, and that can be directly from when you was literally in your mother's womb before you was even
yeah,
born.
yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know because, and sometimes you might never know because
Mm,
maybe you don't have contact with your mother, maybe your mother isn't around anymore. Uh, all lots of different reasons why you can't know with your
mm,
head what was going on. But the imprint of uh, how you are um, the imprint of how you see birth
yeah.
as a situation comes from that first experience. Yeah,
Of you being born yourself. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was induced, so I
yeah,
was made to come early, which is such a common thing to still happen, sadly.
yeah,
I wasn't. It wasn't a challenging delivery, so I didn't have to have forceps or my cord wasn't wrapped around my neck or anything like that. So I think it was a straightforward labour. My mum did have an epidural, as you know, all of this. My mum did have an epidural and then drugs to help her with the contractions because the epidural numbs everything. So that would have impacted me. And I didn't realize until we delved into that together how
yeah,
that might be impacting my experience giving birth to my baby
yeah,
without me consciously knowing it because I had a
yeah,
plan, had an intention. But until we address, okay, how did I come into this world and how did my husband come into this world? Because he had stuff that came up that was like life changing for him that you helped him through.
yeah,
It's it's worth having. Well, you need to have that foundation to then
yeah,
build on. Would
yeah.
you agree?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because otherwise, when you don't know how you came into this world, then
Mm,
during labor, you can come up. There can some emotions can come up that you're
mm,
like, okay, I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe at some point you're like, as an example, not in your story, but as an example. Um, if there was any stressful moment during your own birth,
Mm,
in a specific with some specific details, if that details happen in when
mm,
you're giving birth yourself, your body remembers it like it was the birth of your own. So
yeah.
you react on that situation. But if you
Yes.
know upfront, then you can, well, you can process it, but also, and it doesn't mean the trigger is not is has disappeared, so it
Mm,
doesn't disappear, but you can handle it, or you
yeah.
can speak to your doula, or
Yeah.
speak to your husband, or like, okay, well, I'm scared, or this is happening, and then we can talk you through,
Mm,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So
remember one time. Oh, go on.
yeah. So how did it impact you? Can you
With
share?
my birth, how did it impact me? What did I uncover with this? Well, I uncovered the fact I didn't want to have my baby induced. I knew that from the start, and
Yeah.
that's what I didn't want. I knew I
Mhm.
didn't want medication. And because my mother didn't have a traumatic delivery, I don't remember, there was nothing that came up for me around me being born apart from me not wanting medication or to be induced. Fausta, on the other hand, of course, he had the cord wrapped around his neck when he was born. And then that's where this hyperventilation and being too hot, because he was born in a really, really hot month, that
Mhm.
came from. And that was linked to him being present at our birth, wasn't it? And it manifested a little bit when he got really, really hot.
Yeah.
You were there, I was in Labour land, but and then he was keeping busy, staying out the way. And I was thinking, where the fuck is my husband?
Yeah.
Like, where is he? I'm about to give birth at any moment. And then that's
Yeah.
when you went to get him and was like, Basha, I think Victoria needs you, like
Yeah.
now.
Victoria needs you. You have to stay with her. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you hadn't had your support through that emotionally, and you with you being there was like a massive help for both of us, it would have gone a completely different way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because remember when I said to you, I was comparing because let's talk about conditioning. So in the work I do, eating disorder recovery,
Yeah.
I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah. I have. Yeah. I want to go back to your story about I don't want to be induced. Can you
Yes,
tell? Can you explain why you don't want it? Because we
yes,
talk about the effects of being born, in the effects on your own labor, but it has also an effect on your whole life. So
Yeah, I skipped that part completely. I didn't know how
yeah,
to answer. I was like, wait, there was something that came up and now I can't answer, so I'm just
yeah,
going to skip over the question. It was feeling pressured to
yeah,
do something, to be somewhere that I didn't want to be or didn't want to do. So
yeah,
it's manifested in my life as pressure, and I don't like pressure, and I move away from pressure. And also, without being late for clients and business meetings, I'm always a little bit late, for
yeah.
a social thing.
Timing. Yeah, it has to do with timing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
you want
choose
to
my own
choose your
time.
own. Yeah, you want to choose your own timing. Yeah,
Yeah, because I was forced to come early.
yeah,
So it manifested that way too. And so that's just was really interesting to reflect and be like, that is so funny. Like I am always just a little bit late because it's
yeah.
almost like I don't want to be pressured to be there at a certain
Mhm.
time. I will choose when I get there and I'll be about 5 minutes late, unless it's a business call, obviously. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that I thought that was really, really interesting, which wasn't,
yeah,
I guess it's not traumatic, but it's just something to notice that was reflected to the way I was born into the world.
yeah. And it's funny because your husband is also born through induction, and he
Yeah.
also has this
Yeah.
5
It's
minute
always
late
late.
policy. Yeah,
It's really so funny, isn't it?
yeah,
How it's linked. Well,
yeah,
I was linking, so I was being my, I want to say usual self. This does serve me, and I'm outgrowing this, and I'm still
hmm,
outgrowing it. The fact that, when I said, I'm not scared,
yeah,
and I was denying the fact that I was, but I generally was convincing myself I wasn't. But like you said, the fact that I was saying that there was something going on. And when I
yeah,
was saying to you, well, I've been abused, I've been raped, I've had all these things done to me. Birth can't be that painful. It can't be
yeah.
as painful as all this trauma that I've had. And you said to me, Victoria, don't compare a birth experience to trauma, even in a positive way. Why did you share that with me for the viewpoint of our listeners?
Um, well, yeah, I knew there was something going on with you saying, I'm not scared. Okay, well, okay, I can hear you. But you kept saying this. Well,
Mm,
you kept comparing because you said, well, how bad could it be? So I'm not afraid of the pain. I have had pain in my life, and it must have been worse. So how bad could it be?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what
That
I was
was
saying.
your
How bad can it be? I kept saying, how bad can
yeah.
it be?
How bad could it be? I survived worse.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember there were several meetings, and I think it was 2 weeks before you giving birth,
Mm,
2 or 3 weeks. We had a phone call, and you had a dream. Do you remember
yes.
that?
Yes, yes. About my ex, the abuser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to
And I
share
was,
what the dream
yeah,
was?
I was in the place where we used to spend a lot of time at his company, and I was like trapped.
Yeah,
Did I have the baby at that point? Because I've had a few dreams, like they're all muddled together. But no, I was pregnant at that point in this dream, I think.
you were
I
pregnant.
remember,
Yeah,
I
or
remember
giving birth. I don't know.
it was one of all the other dreams
Yeah.
are weird because they go so quickly as they come. But I remember sharing with you, and I remember all this stuff, the abuse was being played out in my dreams again, and I
Mhm.
felt so angry and so trapped, and it was like my body's way of processing it, and that came up for a reason, and it was also linked to my mother as well. Was that the dream that was linked to my mother, or was that another dream? Because there's a
No, there
lot
was
that
another
came
one, I think. No, it was another
up.
one. But at that point, I was like, okay, well, I get why you have this dream, because
Mm,
by repeating over and over again, well, it wasn't that bad, and labor. So you were just saying, well, this is labor pain on a scale of one
mm.
to 10, right? It is 8, and abuse is 10. So
Yeah,
you were constantly linking the two together. So
yeah,
your unconsciousness is like, okay, well, it is kind of a danger because
yes,
you compare it to the biggest danger, and your body knows how it felt during the abuse, during that time of your
mm,
life. So if that time of your life is happening again, is right in front of you, um, well, you're not scared, but your body says it's
yes.
danger coming up.
Yeah, that's true. And then I remember you sharing and me reading that birth isn't dangerous. So
Yeah,
going back to the conditioning, like with the work I do around body image and eating disorder, a lot of it's conditioning. A lot of it's
yeah,
also trying to control for safety. But with body
yeah,
image stuff, it's conditioning, like the body should look this way.
yeah.
Fat is bad, thin is good. And with birth, if you ask the majority of people to do quick fire answers, if you say a word like giving birth,
Pain.
most people would say pain,
Yeah,
fear,
yeah,
stuff like that. And that's what I had. So, which is why I decided to get help, because I didn't want to have that experience. I was aware that I'd been conditioned through people around me having experiences that reinforce the beliefs, TV shows, movies, that labor's this whole big, awful thing. It's like shitting a watermelon, apparently, and your
yeah,
body's never the same, and there's all this pain. And so I was
yeah.
like bracing myself to be like, right, okay, I'm ready for this, which is why I thought it would be helpful to compare it to, oh, I've had worse, or
Mhm, mhm.
I haven't given birth yet. But like you said, unconsciously, that would just be linking giving birth to a danger in some way. But
Yeah,
when you shared with us how the body gives birth, like the miraculous thing it does to give birth to your baby, the fact that your baby is working with your body,
yeah,
and the thing that you can do to help your birth the most is to allow oxytocin to flow, which is
yeah.
of course the love hormone, to be as relaxed as possible. I started to separate birth from pain. I'm not saying it's not painful. We'll go into how my story in a moment. I'm not saying it wasn't painful, but for me, if you experience pain and you resist it, you could have suffering. But
Mhm.
during my birth, giving birth, I did not, apart from one time, which we'll go into, I did not resist the pain. So therefore, I wasn't in suffering. I was just experienced a painful sensation, and that was it. I didn't
Yeah,
create a resistance to it. So that freed me from the suffering that could have been
yeah.
compared to the abuse.
Yeah, and it is a different kind it is a different kind of pain because
Yeah.
nobody is hurting you. Your
Yeah.
body goes through a process of getting your baby out.
Yes.
And the reaction on pain, your reaction on pain, how you handle the pain, could be the same. So you could, what you
Mm,
say, you can, there,
mm,
oh, this is painful and it is the worst and awful, and how long will it take?
mm.
So your coping mechanism could be the same as with abuse. It could
Yes.
be. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Until
Uh,
you do the work. And I say the work, meaning having you coach me and Wouter through past stuff, emotions, connection to my mother that had nothing to do it on the surface with giving birth, you wouldn't have thought.
you
But
wouldn't have thought,
even
but it has
mm,
everything to do with it. Yeah.
everything to do with it.
Yeah.
How I remember when I first met you, before we signed with you, you said something like, I want to get to know you so I can see and learn how you react from a primal sense to pain.
Yeah.
Because giving birth is very primal, and now I've experienced that, and it absolutely is. So if I hadn't have done that groundwork with you to understand, me saying I'm not afraid probably means I'm very afraid, and I'm just trying to protect myself, which is what I've done most of my life with like this
Yeah.
strength and these walls that I had up, to actually get to the root of that and peel them back and break my heart open metaphorically and work through the emotional stuff,
Yeah.
then learn like oxytocin, creating this safe environment, having you there for emotional support, what can vow to do, all the things that work practically for birth, but also the emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And watching positive birth stories and that book you gave me as well, the positive birth
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
all those things. And I was spamming myself with listening to podcasts about positive births. I was watching YouTube positive births. I was like, right, I've been conditioned to believe birth is dangerous and painful and awful and all the things. I'm going to uncondition myself
Yeah.
that and condition myself to believe that birth is sacred and beautiful and intense and all the things that I wanted it to be. And I did that work. I hold,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm proud of myself, and I want to say that I did
I'm proud
that
of
work.
you too.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
read the books. I met with you. I asked you questions. I did the work, which allowed me to remove everything that wasn't serving me, that I thought wasn't even there because I had my walls up and I'm fine apparently and I'm strong,
Yeah.
to do the
Yeah.
work, to face my fears and then create an intention of what might happen. And that did happen. And before we go into my story, remember, even around body image. So I've done all this work around my body and eating disorder recovery, and I'm fully accepting. But for me, when you asked me, how would you feel, Victoria, if you poo or if
Yeah.
you make noises, which will likely happen when you were giving birth? And I wasn't okay with that, was I? I had a reaction to, oh my God, I can't poo. And oh my God, I can't make noises because what will Wouter think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
helped me through that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It has to do. Yeah, just a bit back in your
Mhm.
conversation, because I think this is the biggest challenge, to recondition yourself
Yeah.
in how you birth. So.
Mm.
Amen to that. So that's what I think the biggest challenge isn't about overcoming your fears or overcoming whatever, but recondition yourself.
Yeah.
Step one is figure out how you're conditioned. Because if
Mhm.
you're newly pregnant, you have no idea. You have no
No.
idea how you're conditioned to see birth. And then if you're developing through your pregnancy, all kind of birth stories come up and
Mhm.
kind of like that. And then you're, um, yeah, step by step discovering, okay, this is my condition. Okay,
Mm.
this is where I need to work on. Yeah,
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 because so many people told me disastrous birth stories. Like, I even went to have my eyes
yeah,
tested, which I
yeah,
couldn't because apparently you can't when you're pregnant. And then she said, "Oh, my birth was awful," and I'm kind of thinking, why are you like telling me your awful birth experience when I'm like
yeah.
clearly pregnant and going to be giving birth? So people like to share. But
Hmm.
you're right. I was like, right, I will do this for every day, day in, day out for a living, changing beliefs. How do I create a new belief? First of all, letting go of the one that doesn't serve me, brainwashing myself in the positive sense to condition myself to show me through evidence of other people doing it first that birth can be a sacred experience. There was even a movie I watched called Orgasmic Birth, and
Yeah.
there's some women having an orgasm. I mean, that didn't happen to me, but
We
I was
talked
open.
about it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
open to the fact that
yeah,
birth can be an orgasmic experience. So
yeah.
you have to be open and condition yourself and see evidence that
Mhm.
other people have had a different experience than your current conditioning, and then start to believe that before having the experience. And that's what I mean by the inner work, as of course, it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, and you have to stop people in their
Mm,
enthusiasm, because I think it is from a good heart that they share
yes.
their own stories, but you can stop them. Okay,
Yeah.
I recognize that you want to share your story, but maybe after I gave birth to myself, I tell that to all my
Yeah.
clients. You have to set your boundaries up, because it impacts you if you hear different stories on, oh well, this went wrong and this was so many
Mm,
pain and this, and you can get all the details from all horrible, terrible stories. But well, hey, I have a healthy baby, or well,
yeah.
I survived. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what you don't want. Well, you want to survive, but you
No.
don't want
Yeah.
to repeat that.
Yeah, you don't want to survive, but you don't want to see it as an event where the only victory is that you survived.
Exactly, which is unfortunately 99% of people see it that way. So my cousin said to me, and I still remember her exact words, she said to me, "Oh my God, if you're giving birth at home without medication and you actually do that, I will bow down to you and eat my hat." And I haven't actually reminded her that she needs to indeed bow down to me. 'Cause it's not about that, but the reactions of people that I was giving birth at home unmedicated, and oh my God, but what if your baby dies, and what if you have a complication? And I understand this coming from a place of love, but what if? I know this is quite a strong thing to say, but I fully trusted in the universe and myself and my baby that if something were to, quote, go wrong and one of us died, I fully trust that that was meant to happen then.
Yeah.
I was that surrendered to it.
Mhm. Yeah, and it is, if you prepare, if you're reconditioning, it doesn't mean that you are preparing for only natural and no pain killing, pain
Yeah, exactly.
medication, and because it is a huge difference between okay, well, only natural or otherwise I die.
Yes,
uh,
yeah,
because it isn't,
exactly.
yeah, it isn't that black and white, but it is doing the hard work and then
Mm,
surrender to what is and what has to come.
yeah,
And I
because I
think
was surrendered. I
I
believe that
think
if I
surrendering was
had,
your was a theme of the last weeks
oh,
for
in
you.
terms of my work, in terms of being busy socially, in terms of my mum, all of it was just signposting for me because I thought I'd surrender, and I had surrendered. Surrender's a state of being. It's not something you do and
Mhm.
then that's it.
No.
I thought I was living a surrendered life
Mhm.
until my body was asking me to surrender even more, and I was fighting it. And I think because I was afraid, so
Mhm.
I was fighting it and
You were
almost trying
afraid
to.
of?
I think I was afraid of facing what was actually happening because I was pregnant. Obviously, I knew that. My body was growing, my baby was growing, the scans were showing like I was pregnant, obviously. But it took me a while. And this is also after I given birth, and I need to get a move on so I can share that too. But I don't know if I shared it with you, but it took me about 5 months until I actually believed that I was pregnant. And that
Mhm.
sounds ridiculous, but I kept saying, I can't get my head around the fact I'm pregnant. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real. It's not real. And I was convincing myself it wasn't real, even though, of course, it was. It's really hard to describe.
Mhm.
So as pregnancy went further, and obviously I'm very much, very heavily pregnant, it was almost like, shit, like this is happening now
Yeah.
and it's going to happen and my life's going to completely change. And I don't think I'd allowed myself the time to actually sit with that.
Mhm.
And I'd read all the books and I was doing the inner work, but I hadn't been quiet with myself,
Yeah.
which is what towards the last weeks of pregnancy that you shared, like Victoria, stop working. Like you need to just be resting and relaxing and all the reasons why. And then I surrendered to that. And that's when huge growth took place, like emotionally, the relationship with my mom, physically, like surrender was the game changer for me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and
It is.
it was a wonderful process to be, yeah, kind of like a part of it for me, because I was like, well, this process of surrendering is what you need in giving birth, because you have
Yeah,
to surrender to the situation, to what is,
yeah,
and to how it goes.
how it
Yeah,
goes. And then
yeah,
shall we dive into my story there, my actual
yeah.
story, how it
Please,
happened?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so feel free to obviously ask questions, interrupt me, say something that I might have missed as I
Oh,
share.
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but maybe you have to talk about your a little bit about your the process with your mother and
Yeah,
your I
like
don't know if you
before,
can
like,
talk about poop.
oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, that was so, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's worth sharing. So
Yeah, I
in
think so.
pregnancy, I had a beautiful pregnancy. Towards the end, my hemorrhoids, still to this day, my body's
Mm.
still healing from that. They were so bad. And obviously, with hemorrhoids, those of you that don't know, it's hard to poo because everything's all swollen and you can't get it past it and all the things. And obviously, you've got a heavy baby pressing down on everything. And my mum came over a week before my due date, and which was planned anyway. And some stuff came up emotionally for me around my mum, that this is a whole nother podcast that I might share at some point. But to keep the story short, emotional stuff came up that was affecting me physically because when she was here, my body, without me realizing it, was like doing this. It was like restricting, it was contracting, it was like holding in, it was bracing, it was just doing what it's always done.
Hmm.
And so, therefore, my toilet habits got even worse. And I was in so much pain one day. Oh my God, honestly, thinking back, it was almost I don't want to compare it to birth because it's not comparable, but it was so intense, this pain. And then I shared something with my mum that next day, and then my whole body just like, oh, like let go. I could go to the toilet, the pain almost vanished. And that was just because I shared something that had been on my heart for so long that I was scared of sharing. And it was
Yeah.
hard to share, so hard. And I shared it with her, and my body just relaxed and let go. And
Yeah.
physically, then, and obviously this can link to birth, can't it? If you're holding in something in emotionally,
Yeah,
your
definitely.
physical body responds to that. So
Yeah.
that was huge for me
Yeah.
to let that go.
Yeah, you were clearing the old shit.
That's what you said, like, and I
Yeah,
said, literally,
literally, yeah.
physically and literally, I was clearing the
Yeah,
old shit out. And
yeah,
that created space then
yeah.
for something new to come in. So mine and my mother's relationship has evolved since then. I've
Mhm,
shared even more since being a mother myself. And actually it's unfolding now, but I've given her the opportunity, a mirror basically, for her to really work through her wounding, because she's had a lot of trauma in her
mhm.
life that she's just not acknowledged and just got on with it. So
Yeah,
it's a gift all round, even though it's really challenging to work through and it
yeah,
brings up a lot of emotion. It's a gift for all, really, if you do
yeah,
this work.
really. So it's a gift in your generation. So
Yes.
trauma, you've heard of generational trauma. So it goes
Yeah.
from mom to daughter. You have a daughter now, so it is, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I've
beautiful work.
broken that,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
which is, I was so blessed to be able to have done that.
Yeah, and so to get a little bit into the physical, your pelvic floor
Mm.
needs to relax to go to the toilet,
Yes.
but also
Yes.
needs to relax to give birth.
Yes.
When you are tensed, stressed or tensed, or have some fear or whatever, your
Mm.
pelvic floor is squeezing.
Yeah. And
And
that
so,
was what mine was chronically doing, wasn't it? Because when
yeah,
I started to wee myself, when I coughed and sneezed,
mhm,
we talked about, could it be a too tight pelvic floor or could it be a too loose pelvic floor? And it was definitely too tight because I'd been tensing like my hips, my tummy, like for most of my life, and it was
yeah,
so tense. There was nowhere for it to go.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we did the spinning babies routine, and I think that helped also to relax the whole pelvic area. So,
it did.
yeah.
And
Mm.
also, before we get into the birth story, this is really worth sharing. The fact that I kept wanting to take care of everybody, even you, remember? So you
Yeah,
were like, given this birth scenario, and I was still like being, yeah, but I'd feel bad if you were there for so long, and would you need a drink? And and you were like, it's not your job to take care of me, it's our job to take care of you. Then I just started crying because part of me is just so used to taking care of everyone all
everybody.
the time.
Yeah,
And you helped me let that go
yeah,
to be able to focus on my birth experience, and that is it. And you gave me permission to, not that I did, but to shout if I needed to be very
yeah,
demanding if I needed to.
yeah. And don't apologize for anything of that. Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
gave me
Just
full
scream
permission
and
to do.
cry and shout and poop and do whatever you need to
But
do. It's just, yeah, be there. Yeah, do what you need
you
to.
really helped me with that, because then I was able to just let go of all the stuff that I didn't realize I was holding on to,
Mhm.
and just give me full permission to have my birth experience.
Yeah.
And then to actually be taken care of, like even to the point where when the birthing pool was being put up,
Hmm.
I mean, during that time when it actually happened, I was leaving you all to it completely because I'd done this beforehand with you. But part of me wanted to help putting the birth pool
You
up
did.
and to
Yeah, you did.
assist and to
Yeah.
help. And you were
Yeah.
like, no,
Help.
Victoria, this was pre giving birth. This was a test run. And you were like, just sit
Yeah.
there and watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so hard to just watch you and vow to do something without me
Yeah.
helping you.
Yeah. No, just sit. Yeah.
Just sit
Just
there. And
sit.
I found
Yeah.
that so hard.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. So,
Yeah.
birth story.
Birth story. Yeah.
Okay. On the 25th of November, around 3 a.m., I didn't check my clock, but I think it was about 3 a.m., I started having, as you know, like this is to everyone who's listening, I didn't know if they were contractions. They were just like pains about 3 o'clock in the morning. And they came about 10 minutes apart. And then I kind of tried to go back to sleep, kind of couldn't. And then I walked my dog about 7 in the morning. And as I was walking my dog, I had to kind of stop during these contractions, and then I continued walking. I got home. I said to Wouter, I think I'm having contractions, but you can go to the gym. It's fine. Like, I don't think I'm in labor. This was also what my brain was doing to me. It
Yeah.
kept saying to me over and over again, you're not in labor. No,
Mhm.
you're going to be pregnant forever. You're just never going to have this baby. It was like, it was like so
Pregnant.
weird
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And then Wouter said, okay, I'm not going to the gym because you can't speak when you have this contraction. I'm going to call Marianne. And I was like, no, don't bother her. No, it's fine. I'm not in labor. And he was like, okay, I'm going to call her. So he called you, and then I spoke to you on the phone, probably around, was this around 10 in the
Yeah,
morning?
well, we spoke a little bit earlier.
Okay.
I think at 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like
Okay.
that. Just to, you said, well, just to give you a heads up, this is happening. I don't think they are contractions yet. And I said, well, I think it is a start. And then you went to shower and take a shower. You said, well, I still want to wash my hair. So you,
That was it.
yeah, that was it. So, and then, and I said, well, call me if anything changes or you want me to come. Because I
Mm.
don't have a guideline or whatever. I'm not a midwife. So I don't say, well, when you're in active labor, then I will
Yeah.
come. Because I will
Yeah.
come when you need me. And you
Yeah.
decide when you need me.
Yes.
But it was, it was a hard time because you thought, well, you don't have to come too early.
I was like, I'm not in
Yeah.
labor though. It was so weird how my brain was seriously. I was convinced I was not in labor, and was very clearly, obviously in labor.
You were, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, did I have to then call you again at about 10 then?
Yeah.
10 in the
Yeah.
morning, maybe?
Yeah, 10, 15 maybe. Yeah, and we spoke about for about 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, you had 3 contractions.
Yeah, and I couldn't speak during the
You couldn't
contraction.
speak. Yeah, so I spoke to you and to Wouter, and then I asked you, should I come over? Do you want me to be there? And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't. Do
I just
you?
didn't know. I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. And Wouter said, I don't know either. What do you think? Well, I was like, well, she does have good contractions.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, let me come over. Yeah.
yeah. So then you did about an hour later, maybe, because
Yeah, an
timing
hour
such
later. Yeah.
looking. I remember at that point messaging my client saying, I'm in labor, I'll be gone for a few days. Like,
Oh,
even at that
really?
point, I was like letting them know that I'm in labor, so I'm gonna be gone.
I
Reach
didn't
out.
know that.
I did that, and then
Yeah.
and then then it was like I couldn't even look at technology at that point. So then you came
Yeah.
over,
And
and
you said,
then
"Oh, I hope I didn't interrupt your day." And
yeah, yoga. I think yoga was it, or Pilates you were doing at the
Pilates.
gym?
Yeah, yeah. And so you're like, "Well, if you want to work out here, it's fine."
Oh my god. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Lol.
yeah.
So I managed to sort of eat breakfast. It took me about 3 hours to like eat a bowl of something, but at least I had something inside me.
Mhm.
And then when you came, did I have the yoga ball yet or not?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Had the yoga ball. So I had back labor. Ugh, it was all in my back. And I remember thinking, I wish it would be in my uterus. It
Mhm.
was just all the contractions were in my back. So I was
Yeah.
leaning over the yoga ball a lot. And then you held a hot water bottle on my back, which really helped. So you were with me, like right there with me throughout my labor. I remember at one point I needed to be sick. So you bought me a bucket.
Yeah.
I remember Hero, my dog, like being really protective of me, and the midwife was not happy about that because the midwife got called at what? Excuse me. What point did Wouter or you call the midwife?
Well, I was there at 11:15,
Mhm.
and then you were at first you were really chatty. So well, this is happening, and I don't know, and all all that kind of things. And then I told you, well, she's gonna be there today, or yeah, it is happening. So you are in labor, definitely, and then you
Yeah, I
slowly,
remember you saying that to me actually, and I was
yeah,
like,
you have to
"Shit, this
believe
is
it.
me."
It is happening. Yeah, and we don't know what is happening, but you are in labor. Yeah, it wasn't a question because you are
No,
fully into labor, and I saw it progressing very quickly. So at
Mm.
12 o'clock, I said to her, well, I think you have to call the midwife because it can happen quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then at 1 o'clock, I think the midwife was at your house.
Oh,
So
so she wasn't here that long then before the birth, the actual
no,
birth.
no,
Because I remember when you said to me, very seriously, this is happening.
yeah,
I remember because I went quiet because I remember we tried to read some of the beautiful messages that my friends and family had wrote for me in this little wooden labour box, and I could only read about two, and I was like,
mhm,
I can't focus on reading anything anymore, and so I went internally inwards, and I remember thinking, this is actually, again, here's my brain goes, I can't believe this is happening right now. I can't believe I'm in labor. I can't get my head around the fact I'm going to have a baby. It was like, not, I don't think necessarily all fear, but I was just like, it was very surreal. I was like,
yeah,
I can't believe this is happening. And I remember being over the ball, the water bottle really helped. I remember them coming quite quickly, the contractions, and me wanting to be sick. And you plaited my hair for me because my hair was all in my way. And I was like getting annoyed with my hair. And you were like, shall I braid your hair? I was like, yes, please. So you braided my hair. And then I remember feeling, I didn't express this out loud. I remember feeling annoyed because I was so squashed in because the crystal table was there. The sofa was there. Hero was like on me, bless him,
yeah,
trying to protect me.
it
The
was. Yeah.
birthing pool was there. And I remember thinking, I want a bit more space, but I just dealt with it. I could have shared that at some point, but I didn't.
Mhm.
And then the midwife said, oh, I want to give you an internal examination. And I was like, oh, fuck no, because she
Can
wanted
you
me to
lie
lie.
on your back? Yeah.
And I was like, no, I can't lie on my back. And that was the first time my brain heard I can't, because up until that point, I was like, I have fucking got this. Like, this is fine. Like, I'm just riding the waves of the contractions. It's not pleasant, but it's fine.
Mhm,
I'm doing this. Like, right, labor's happening. Like, let's get on with this then, because I finally realized it's happening.
mhm.
And then she said, lie on your back. And I was like, my whole body was like,
It's
no.
impossible. Yeah,
It literally, Mariana, felt impossible.
yeah.
So nothing's impossible. So I lay on my back and she said, during a contraction, I'm going to put my fingers inside you. And I was like, I've got to be on my back during a contraction. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, somehow I managed to get through that and she checked me. And I remember kept trying to like turn around and she was like, you need to turn back round. And I'm like, I hate you right now. I was thinking, I hate you. Go away.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. But she checked me really quickly and she said, oh, like you're 8 centimeters already. You can get in the pool. And I remember thinking, thank fuck I'm not 2 centimeters.
Yeah, you said that.
Did I
Yeah.
say that out
Yeah,
loud?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember thinking, well, at least I've progressed. You know, I don't like to label
Mhm.
things because I wasn't sure if I wanted to be checked or not. But you
Pretty
said
quickly.
it could be beneficial.
Yeah.
And we went to the toilet. So you said, right, let me take you to the toilet so you can make space. So your bladder's completely empty so you can make space for baby. And I remember like thinking, how the hell am I going to get up and walk right
Yeah.
now? And you helped me. And I was like waddling and then having contractions along the way. And then I got in the pool. And then I remember thinking, the pool's cold. Why is it not warm? I remember thinking, why is, and then I thought, I actually don't care. The water feels nice and supportive. Then I
Yeah,
was leaning.
was it cold already when you,
I
checked me?
thought it was.
Yeah. You
I
didn't
remember
mention.
wanting it to be like, ah.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, why is it cold? Oh well. Fausto was really, really hot and he said it was too hot, so he put
No, it
cold
was,
water.
yeah, well, we set up the birth pool, or Wouter set it up early on, and we
Yeah.
put the inliner inside, and I said, well, we have to fill it already for half of it, a little bit hotter so it can cool off, and
Yeah,
well, we at when I came in, I didn't know how fast it would go. So
exactly.
it is just to be prepared so that there's some water in it, and then we can top it off if you
Mm,
need it or if you want to go into the pool. But water had turned the shower on hot,
mm,
all the way hot, and
mm.
so we stopped the the water running, and then it was like steaming. So it
Oh,
was steaming in the room, and Wout has yeah, well, he felt it, And then when the midwife came and you had 7-8 centimeters, we were like, oh shit, the water's too hot because you couldn't
Uh,
get in. You had to wait. And we
right.
put some cold water in it, and then
Uh,
really hot, really cold. So it wasn't very manageable. So we
it was what it was. It was
it was
fine.
what it was because it was due to the
The
progression, the quick
fastness, the
fast.
progression of the labour. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I got in the
yeah,
pool and I remember thinking it was cold, but also the water was nice. The feeling of the water was nice on my body. And I
hmm,
was naked at that point, so I felt like freer.
yeah,
And I remember, so I think it's worth trying to describe how the contractions felt. Not like period pains, because a lot of people say, oh, they're like really, really intense period pains. That wasn't my experience for me because it was all in my back and
yeah,
like my hips. It was nothing to do with my front part of me, which
hmm,
surprised me. It was just like these waves of like very, very, very intense like pain. I can't really use a different word than pain, but it was fine that it was painful. It was just a
hmm,
painful experience with the sensations, but they did go. It wasn't like they lasted forever. Like the pain, as you know, you've experienced it. It comes and then it goes, but it wasn't like a period pain for me. It was like something I've never experienced before. It was just like a really, really strong ache, but ache is a
hmm,
really strong word for ache.
yeah,
Um, so it gets in the pool, and then as I'm leaning over, like I knew I would because it was on my back, so I'm leaning over the side towards you, and you're holding my hand. And then I think I was really in labour land then because I was very much kind of just not really knowing what was going on around me. And I remember saying, well, I remember before I said this to you, I remember being like, I've still got this, like I've absolutely got this. And then for a second, I thought, I've not fucking got this. Like, how can it get more intense? Come on, are you having a laugh? I remember thinking, how can it get worse than what it is
hmm,
happening right now? And I almost like laughed at myself because I was like, this is so painful. And you know what? If there was an epidural right next to me and it was offered to me, I don't know if I'd be able to say no. And then that's what came into my mind. Then I thought, right, okay, it's happening, whether you like it or not. This
yeah,
is my little pep talk. You can do this, Vic. You know you're going to do this. You absolutely know you have got this. You're going to do it.
hmm,
So let's get on with it and let's do this.
yeah,
And then I was like, right, what do we need to remember? Number one, surrender. Number two, floppy face, floppy fanny. Number three, knees in, calves out. So I was like, right, knees in, calves out, create space for my pelvic for the baby to come down, relax my jaw, like just have your jaw hanging open, relax your mouth, relax your jaw. Because the more relaxed your face is, like you told me, the more relaxed everything down there is, and just fucking surrender. So that's when I just completely gave into it all
yeah, and breathe
and breathe, and I
down.
was
Yeah,
breathing. You
yeah.
reminded me. So at that point where I guess I was at transition, like
It
10
is transition.
centimeters,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you said to me, because the midwife was, by the way, the midwife was very nice for the listeners, but I remember just being annoyed by her because she was going, oh, feel free to push. And I'm thinking, I'll listen to my body, like, thank you. I don't need your interference. And you said to me, Victoria, remember what we said about using your breath downwards?
yeah.
Because I was kind of mooing. I was like kind of doing like low mooing noises.
Hmm.
And I remember when you reminded me of that, I was like, oh yeah. So, and then I just like directed my breath down and my voice went even lower, didn't it? Somehow
Yeah,
it was like very
definitely.
like, I couldn't even do it now if I tried.
No.
It was like an energy had gone from releasing outwards to be able to move the wave of pain through me to like moving my voice and energy downwards to help the
Downwards.
baby move.
Yeah, yeah.
And I felt her moving down, like I felt her moving down. I didn't share. I was just very much in experiencing it. And then I remember feeling her head crowning. And then I thought, how the fuck is this going to fit out of me? And then my brain went, you don't want a baby. Put it back. I don't
Oh,
want to be a
really?
mother anymore. You don't want this baby. No, make it stop. Because I
You
felt
haven't
like
shared with me.
that's what I thought. I was like, yeah, I don't want this anymore. Like for a
Yeah,
second,
yeah,
it was just funny, really. But I
yeah.
remember thinking, on a serious note, how the hell is this going to fit out of me? Like, how? And then I brought myself back to your body knows what it's doing. just surrender and it's all going to be fine. So then very quickly I surrendered. And that's when I said to you very casually, I can feel ahead. I just
Mhm.
kind of went, I can feel ahead like that, didn't I?
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
just,
It's casual. I can feel her head. Yeah.
I can feel ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back and concentrate now. And then the midwife didn't believe it because she came to check and she couldn't see because you told her or something. And she was like, oh, I'll just check to see what's going on. And she
No,
didn't believe that it
no,
was that
no,
stage.
no, you said, I can feel her head moving, or, yeah, I can feel her head, moving downwards, or anything like it.
Yeah,
I feel her head moving.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, well, the midwife walked around the bath to check, um, and she couldn't see. And afterwards, we talk about it, and
yeah.
she said, "Well, normally I look around to see for physical appearances to see if the pushing stage has begun,
Mm.
and you can see it." On your bottom. So there is a line where your, I don't know how you call it, but
Pelvis, hips,
no, not the hips, but your bottom, your billen,
yeah, bum, ass.
bum. Yeah, your bum, just above your line there. Because the pressure of the baby's head, it moves outwards. So you have
Yeah.
a little bit, a little purple line, as if your
Mm.
butt cheeks are spreading apart. So you can
Yeah,
physically see that the baby is moving down. Uh,
yeah.
but we couldn't see. She couldn't see that at you. So she was like, okay, well, it could take a while. Um,
Mm.
she was thinking that because the
Yeah.
situation was you were in the bath. Um, at some point, you became a little well moving,
Mm.
and
I
I
was
yeah,
naturally.
yeah, literally. So that is mostly that's transition. The transition
Mm.
to pushing is in your body, your uterus movements, but also in your hormonal stage. There is a transition
Mm.
towards more alert, more active because of the adrenaline that comes
Yeah.
that releases during the pushing stage. Um, but you were really quiet. We noticed it a little bit that you were a little bit, yeah,
I
a
was a
little
bit restless. I was moving my
restless.
legs. I
Yeah,
was just following my body. I was like
yeah,
kind of fidgeting a bit.
yeah, yeah. A bit
Mm.
restless, I would say. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the cue of yeah, well, the baby's coming. But then again, the midwife walked around and she sat down. So
Mm.
you were in the pool. Wouter was with you, holding you. I was next to him, and next to me the midwife was, and there was also Silke, the kraamzorg.
Mhm.
Um, and we were just quiet. So the music was
Mm.
playing, and you were just breathing, and all
Mm.
was quiet. So
It
yeah,
wasn't, I was not showing signs of the fact that there was a baby literally moving down my body at that
yeah, you
point.
were showing signs, but very subtle signs.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
subtle signs. And I
yeah,
remember at that, by the way, for time, have you got, because we can do another day if you haven't, but have you got about another 15 minutes?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
okay,
had
thank
some
you.
time. Yeah, and I remember Wouter needs to go. He
To
asked
the
me,
toilet.
he asked me, can I go to the toilet? And I was like, I don't think so.
Did
But
he go?
yeah, because well, I was like, well, I don't think so, but I don't know what you think of it. So I asked
Mm.
the midwife, and she said, "Well, you have enough time."
So he
So he
did
did
go to the,
so. He
he
did
did
use the
go.
toilet, and he came back, and he sat down. The kraamzorg said, "Well, I need to go also." So she goes to the toilet, and then your baby was born.
Yeah, she missed it, didn't
So
she?
Yeah, so Wouter was just in time,
Wow.
just right before. Yeah.
Because I experienced, so when I was quiet, I could feel her moving down. I could feel her head crowning. I could feel the ring of fire that they talk about, which was actually, that was like your brain always compares to what you've
Mhm.
heard. Yes, it hurt, but it wasn't like what people have described to me.
No.
It hurt and it stung, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be from what they've said. So I remember feeling that, apart from that panic I had when I was like, how the fuck is this going to literally get out of my body? Because I
Mm.
could feel the pressure of because I didn't push. This is the weird thing. I breathed, I breathed down and I allowed my body to push itself, but I did not physically push on
Yeah.
purpose
Yeah.
once,
Mhm.
which was incredible. I just like breathed down and like allowed my body to push down. So when she first got to the entrance and I felt the pressure of my body pushing her down and then her crowning, that's when I thought, how the hell is this going to fit out of me?
Mhm.
And then when her head was obviously out a little bit more and I started to just keep surrendering and relaxing and floppy face, floppy fanny, I just fully trusted then it was fine. So I didn't feel like I had to push. I don't know how I was so quiet. I was just focusing on my breath and
Mhm.
focusing on relaxing everything as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then before you knew it, I think the midwife came at one point and said, push a little bit more. And I was thinking, I'm not even pushing, but whatever.
Mhm.
And I just breathed down again and she just came out
Yeah.
and she was just there. And then I remember thinking, that's it. It's done. Okay, oh my God, that's like it's done. It was almost like it was so abruptly finished
Mhm.
because you've got all the contractions and it's a whole thing, and then it's just done.
Yeah.
And then
And
my
then you had a
baby's
baby.
and my baby's there, and I'm like, holy shit, I have a baby now. And you can see
Yeah.
on my face, I'm
Yeah.
like, what just
What?
happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
What just happened? Like, I can't actually understand what's just happened.
Mhm.
And then the pain's just completely gone
Yeah.
instantaneously. And then I'm holding my baby, and I'm just like, I can't believe I have a baby right now. Vouter gets in the pool with me. You got it on video, such a beautiful video that you got. And then what I loved about that video the most is when I was talking to her, she was looking up at me the entire time.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
She was looking up at me. And I remember thinking, when I held her, and I was like, ooh, there's a bit of slime. I was like, ooh, there's a bit of slime there. And I was like, of course there's slime. She's literally come from inside your body. I
Yeah.
remember thinking that to myself. Um, and then Vouter got in the pool, then I was shivering like crazy and kind
Mhm.
of being like, "Ooh," like making weird kind of breathy noises to release
Release
energy.
all the energy. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's nothing weird. And I love what I love about the video is that you can see you just need to come to this earth again.
Yeah.
So you need to process what the fuck happened here.
What? Yeah. Because I was in labor land, like I was taking this so seriously. I'm not saying mothers don't take it seriously, but I was so focused on
Yeah.
like doing everything to support me and my baby as much as possible.
Mhm.
Then it was just over and she was there. And then, like you say, you come back into the real world, so to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
and you have your own baby there. And it's
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
wow. And I remember thinking, she's a live person. She's literally a person and she's alive, which is ridiculous to say, but she's a human. There she is.
Mhm.
Like, what? How? So,
Yeah. Yeah. How?
so I was really, really shaking. Then you
Yeah.
put a towel over me, and then we got out the pool, lay on the sofa, and then what I thought was 10 minutes, but you said it was like over half an hour. The midwife's coming and try and get my placenta out, and I'm like, leave me alone. Just didn't I say to her, like, can you just wait a bit, please?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You asked her to wait a bit. She was checking if the placenta was already loose from the inside of your uterus. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was in
And
half an hour. Yeah.
but it felt literally like 5 minutes. It didn't feel, time had gone.
Yeah.
And I remember her pulling on it and me being like, ow, that hurts. Then
Yeah.
she pushed on my tummy and I remember being like, ow, that hurts. I was thinking, oh, I thought the pain had gone at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the placenta did come by itself, I think,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
She helped a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit to. She helped a little bit to contract the uterus again,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was just a little help, and then your body was like, okay, well, let's get this
Yeah.
thing out. Yeah.
And that
So.
was fine because, yeah, it hurt a bit, but you've got your baby in your arms. It was just more of an annoyance and an
Mm-hmm.
inconvenience other
Yeah.
than a thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't cut the cord until the placenta cord had completely gone white, and then vowed to cut the cord. And then I remember saying, this is so funny. I remember saying, you got it on video. My vagina is amazing. And then I
Yeah.
said to the midwife, "I don't think I even tore, did I?" And she was like, yeah,
You
I
did.
need to do some work down there." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Because isn't it crazy how, I mean, I think I had like 7 stitches internally and externally, and she said she even had to cut me to make it back to normal.
To
She
cut
said
you?
to me,
No.
she had to cut me. So when she came to visit us a couple of weeks later, she was
Yeah.
almost not laughing, but we were joking about it. She went, "I did have to cut you as well." And I was like, "What?" I didn't.
When?
She said she had to cut me when she was stitching me up.
I don't remember.
That's what she said to me, and she found it quite funny. Funny. Because not funny as in she was being mean, but I think the conversation we were having about how my stitches were doing, she
Yeah.
said sheepishly, like, "I did have to cut you as well." And I was like, "What? I didn't know that." And she was like, "Yeah, I did."
Oh,
So
that is
apparently
good.
she,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
apparently she cut me as she was fixing it all again. But
Okay. I
yeah,
can't remember. No.
no, I mean, for me, I remember,
I can remember that you said, "Well, okay, I need to check if she if she has done a good job." So I took a picture
yeah,
to show you.
like, "Can you please send me pictures of my vagina so I can make sure she's
Yeah.
put it back how
Yeah.
it should be?" But I remember thinking, wow, the fact that I genuinely thought I hadn't torn
Mhm.
and the fact that I'd torn a lot just goes to show, like, what is it, the adrenaline, because when she physically came out, I don't remember feeling the pain to the extent that the tear would say that it happened.
No. No, most women are afraid of
Tearing.
tearing, but most women don't feel it.
No, I
So,
didn't feel it at all. Even afterwards, I was like, "Oh,
and
I've
it
not torn."
heals. Yeah, and it heals pretty quickly because it is a well, yeah, blooded area. How do you call it? It's
Yeah, like the mouth, it heals like super quick, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. So I
So,
remember her having to stitch me up, and the injection prick did hurt. I remember being
mhm.
like, "Ow,
Yeah,
that really hurts," but
nasty.
I
Yeah,
was thinking I've just gave birth, I can do anything right now.
yeah,
So I remember that being a bit uncomfortable. She had to like prick me, I think 3 times for the anesthetic to do what she needed to do. Then
yeah.
I
On
remember
3 points, I think. Yeah.
3 points. Then I remember thinking, "Oh my God, is the sofa okay? Because I'm leaking blood everywhere. Is the sofa okay? Is the sofa okay?" And they were like, "Don't worry, you've got all the pads underneath you, it's fine." And then, yeah, Koa, our little girl, was practicing on the breast, and then Silka was helping us with that. And then what felt again like half an hour was like 3 hours later, and then we ordered sushi, and you all stayed. The
Yeah.
midwife went home, you and Silka stayed. Silka, for those of you that don't know, it's a Dutch word, but she's like, we have help in the Netherlands after we've had a baby, which is beautiful. And she helps with like showing you how to breastfeed, showing you how to dress the baby. Like when you've literally had a first baby and you're like, I don't know what to do, they
Hmm.
help you. So Silka stayed, you stayed, Mariana. We had sushi, didn't we?
Yeah.
Then I took a shower. And then when I was taking a shower, I think you dressed or someone dressed Koa with Wouter when I was
Yeah.
taking a
I
shower
was
to
with
put clothes
Wouter.
on her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being in the shower being like, wow, I'm so proud of myself for like what's just happened. And I can't get my head around the fact we've got a baby and this is all just so surreal and
Yeah.
beautiful.
Hmm.
And then I went in to see Koa, and then that was our first night as parents. And
Yeah.
we're like 8 weeks later, and it feels like she's been with us forever.
Yeah. How do you? No, let me go back to the first. I said to you the video shows very beautifully that you were like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of women go through that because in movies and in stories they don't share this because
Yeah.
it is, they share or they share the most romantic version. Oh, there's a pink cloud, and oh, little angels, and oh,
Yeah. And
beautiful.
you crying with happiness and
Yeah,
crying with love.
all that. Or they say, well, they skip that part and they go into the first week with baby. But most women experience this kind of disbelief or kind of
Mm.
like a shock reaction. Uh,
Yes.
it's like
That was me.
yeah, it's like a shock, and it is okay because it is your world is upside down. You just had a baby.
Yeah.
And some women are in 30 seconds through that, and some
Yeah.
women have an hour to just realize that there's a baby, that it
I
is
think it took
their
me
baby.
a week or so, or maybe, or days to, again, my brain was like, I can't believe we have a baby. And even to this day, I walked past a mirror yesterday holding her, and I was like, looking at myself in the mirror holding my baby, and I was like, I still can't believe I have a baby. Like, it's
How did
almost
you
like
do that? Yeah.
I'm waiting for something to, I don't know what words I want to use here. It's like I'm waiting for it to feel real, but of course it's real because it's happening. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
I
So
know
it
what you
took,
mean. Yeah. I share
yeah.
with you.
So
Sometimes I still, my daughters are almost 10 and 8 years old. So I gave birth a long time ago.
yeah,
But sometimes I'm like, well, I have this big kids. I
yeah,
can't believe they're not a baby anymore,
yeah.
or
It's
just a
funny.
toddler or whatever.
Yeah,
So I think at some point it will stay with you like
yeah.
that.
I
So
think it's the beauty of life. Like, I think it's so miraculous the way that life is, and I believe in a higher power. People that follow me know that. The fact that there's this innate intelligence and wisdom that is consciousness, that is life.
mhm,
And it's almost like being pregnant, giving birth, having a baby is literally the depth of this consciousness in physical form. And you
mm,
see it and you
yeah.
experience it and you witness it, and you're just mind blown by it
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. I'm a Christian, and I this experiencing birth myself and
Yeah.
witnessing birth over and over again is the proof that I think, well, this is such a
Mm.
miracle and such a wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And if I said to Wouter, like, people who have babies who don't believe in something,
Hmm.
how?
Yeah. How? Yeah.
How can you, the miracle of life itself,
Hmm.
what you see and you experience in physical form and emotionally is just, it's beyond words. I'm struggling to express it. So
Yeah.
I think that's what happens when, well, when I was in shock for quite a few days. It wasn't a
Hmm.
negative shock. I
No.
didn't feel disconnected from my baby. I didn't feel numb. I felt love and I felt protective and I felt happy and proud and I felt a lot of beautiful feelings. And I was in shock at at the same time. Like the first night, I was just kind of lying there, just being like, "Oh my god, like this is our little baby to take care of," and it was such a beautiful feeling. But I was still in shock.
Yeah.
And now it's like she's always been with us, and now I've got come to terms with the fact that we have this beautiful baby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, what do I even want to say here? You asked me about the shock. I didn't have this magic wave of love and I didn't cry, and I kind of wanted to, but I just didn't.
Yeah. You said
Didn't.
afterwards. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to cry,
Thank
but
you.
I didn't. I was in
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah.
So that's my experience after birth. I was just in shock, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it takes some time to wrap your head around
Mhm.
what has happened. Yeah.
It was.
Despite how your birth looked like, if it is short or long or terrible or lovely
Mhm.
or whatever, it takes time to wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
Even as a doula, I
Yeah.
am next to you. I don't experience it, but next to you, I always need a couple of days to
Mm.
get back here and think, okay, well, okay, this has happened, or
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it is a beautiful yeah. I love the experience. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
being with
Well,
you.
thank you
Doula. Yeah.
for being there, because your presence, your rock, like you were my rock, your emotional stability, just your presence there
Hmm.
brought me a sense of safety, security, calmness, peace. It almost was like your presence was giving me permission to have the birth that I'd always dreamed of. Well, I say always dreamed of having since I got pregnant and, thought about it,
Yeah.
that I dreamed of having. And I really believe that if you hadn't have been there, it would have gone perhaps a different way. So
Yeah. Well, but you did the work. So you gave yourself permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you gave me a permission slip that I didn't need, but I did need at the same time to have that experience.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were there and just so calm and also helping to guide Wouter because he was being busy with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew that intuitively that I was like, I didn't say to you, but I was thinking, where is Wouter? And
Yeah.
that's when you went to get him. You felt it. And he was being busy trying to take care of things. And that was his way of dealing with what was happening.
Yeah.
But you helped him and was like, just be with her. And then it was a beautiful experience. He was there holding my hand. We got it on video. It was a beautiful experience. And he was completely fine with it all. But that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have been there
Mm-hmm.
and directed him and been like, she needs you right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, and I love that you say that because some people think, well, if I have a doula, what would my partner do? As if I am
Mm,
a replacement of the
right.
role of their partner, and
No, no,
it is nothing like that. No,
no.
and
You're
I think
sharing, you're supporting both of us.
definitely, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I think Wouter had was busy doing things because the water was well become. I think Wouter will be a guest on my podcast as well on his
Yes.
story because it is a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Also a beautiful transition
Mm.
because he was avoiding to be there and not avoiding to be
Yes.
there with you, but avoiding to sit in the situation.
Yeah.
And I think most men are happy taking care of someone by doing stuff. So putting
Yes.
all things, we went upstairs to get the baby stuff and all the, well, we prepared all the stuff in the living room. Um,
Mm.
and men like to do practical stuff, but women
Mm.
need their
Mm.
husbands
Mm.
to be there with them. So at some
Yeah.
point, I was like, okay, what do you need? You have to sit
Mm.
down with Victoria,
Yeah.
and I will get the stuff. And I
Yes.
have to search for it, but I will get the stuff. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what I needed because then that was very quick. She was very quickly born then
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that point. And it was such a beautiful, looking back, a sacred, intense, beautiful experience that I kind of want to do again. I mean, I don't currently want another baby, but it's almost like I want to do it again because it was such an empowering, surrendered experience. The fact that I went from thinking, labor and birth and pregnancy was just horrific and painful and traumatic
Mm-hmm.
to having that experience. And also a little part when she started to come out, me thinking, panicking of like, how the hell is this going to work? But
Mm-hmm.
then being able to surrender to that just reinforces the trust I have for my body, the
Yeah.
trust I have for the universe, the trust I have that everything unfolds as it's meant to. And even if it didn't unfold that way, I would still trust that it was meant to happen however it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a miraculous experience. And I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing and asking. And is there anything that you want me to ask you for your podcast, or you want to ask me that I've not shared before we end today?
Um, Well, no, I in my head I was like, okay, well, what I loved about our working to of working together with you is the eagerness to
Mm.
develop. I said it the last time we met. I love that because it shows your resilience and it led up to this beautiful birth, and yeah, well, I'm just grateful to be a part of it. Yeah,
Mhm. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. I received that, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm
oh,
proud of us as a team, like me, you, Wouter, our baby, even Hero, who did sadly get put outside by the midwife at some point, but he's forgiven us for that, and he's in love with Koa and his little sister as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
But anyone who is considering getting a doula, get one. Get Mariana if you can,
Thank
because
you.
it's a life-changing experience. And honestly, we're not supposed to go through this alone. Even back in the olden days, didn't women have women around them and like who have given birth before supporting them emotionally? I think it's
Mhm.
so crucial. And my listeners all know that I'm obsessed with coaching, which is why I'm a coach. And I know you're not necessarily a coach, but you're everything. You're a coach, a mentor, a guide, a teacher. We need people. We're not supposed to do this alone, even
Yeah,
birth. Even
exactly.
though I do it, it's a team effort, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm curious because you work with people with eating disorders. How do
Mm-hmm.
you think comparing eating disorder to the development when you're pregnant into giving birth? Is there any, how do you call it, resemblance? No? I don't know
Like,
what the English word is, but is there any similarity in the process?
is in, is there a similarity between having an eating disorder and then being pregnant and giving birth?
No, yeah, more like overcoming an eating disorder or working on your eating disorder.
Yeah.
Is there any similarities of the process that we've done?
Mm.
Maybe that's the right question.
Overcoming the eating disorder is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, even compared to giving birth, to be
Yeah.
honest. One reason, because giving birth is just one day or however long it is for people. It's going to end very soon.
Yeah.
It's one very intense experience within a couple
Yeah.
of hours or however long it was.
Yeah.
An eating disorder recovery takes a while. There's so much unlearning to do. There's so much emotional pain to go through.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, honestly.
Yeah.
But the characteristics that got me through eating disorder recovery,
Mm-hmm.
it served me during pregnancy and birth: resilience, what you mentioned,
Yeah.
commitment, and I mean that as in commitment to the process and the intention of the birth that I wanted to have. So being committed to doing what it took in
Mm-hmm.
order to create that new belief for myself. Surrender is actually should have been number one.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it there, surrender.
Yeah.
Because surrendering control, eating disorders are all about control
Yeah.
and needing to feel good enough and needing to be seen a certain way and needing to feel in control to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Surrender and trust, those two words, surrender and trust, in an eating disorder recovery and during pregnancy and during birth and during being a mother.
Even
Surrender and
now.
trust.
Yeah.
Just follow your feeling.
Yeah.
But great question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I thought of that because I think someone if you have you mentioned unlearning,
Mm.
unlearning, but adjusting your programming, how you're programmed to see
Yeah.
yourself, the world,
Yeah.
uh, giving birth. So I
Yeah.
was in my head, I was like, well, there are some. Um,
Similarities.
Similarities, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, definitely. It's like once you know how to let go of old beliefs and create new ones, you can use that in every
in
area of
every
your
yeah,
life. So
yeah,
I actually thought, okay, I've overcome an eating disorder.
mhm,
Let me apply how I did that to this experience of pregnancy and giving birth. You can
mhm,
apply it to everything because
yeah,
all it is conditioning and fear.
yeah,
I've worked through fear and I can do it again and I'll continue to do it. I know how. And I know how to recondition myself to condition myself to something that serves me. And so that's what I did. And then I got the help I needed from you and I read books and I got the support and here we are. And if I wanted to be an astronaut, which I don't, I would then condition myself to be having a positive experience being an astronaut, you know?
yeah, yeah,
You can do
exactly, yeah.
anything. You
So
just
the
have to have,
process, yeah,
yeah, you just have to have the right approach, the right support, and just believe that anything's possible because it really is. If you feel like you want it, like I
mhm,
really felt in my heart, I wanted it at home birth,
mhm,
unmedicated, at home, in the living room. I deeply desired that. So I trusted that if I desired that, it could be possible for me.
yeah,
I
definitely,
don't desire to be an astronaut, therefore it's not possible for me. I
yeah,
actually don't desire it
yeah,
anyway. So,
yeah,
so trust your desires are meant for you and you're remembering the future when you have a vision of something that you want.
yeah. I have one last question maybe for your listeners, because you said,
Mhm.
well, I recommend a doula to everyone, just go
Mhm.
to Marianne.
Yeah.
But in our first meeting, was there if you want to get a doula, you have a first meeting just to
Mhm.
check well, who are you? Are we connected, or how do I feel? What is the number one thing someone has to take in mind when they choose someone as their doula?
Mm.
Because I don't
For
think I
me,
am for everyone.
no, for me, it was because our values aligned
Hmm.
and our beliefs aligned. So
Yeah.
if you would have come in not believing in spirituality, not believing in deep emotional work, I'm not saying doulas are that. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's doulas who aren't spiritual. It wouldn't have been a match for me because I needed someone like you who believed in a higher power, which helps with surrender and trust, whose values did align, even to the point where we get raw milk, we haven't had vaccines, and we're not against vaccines. We're just saying like we were so aligned with how we live
Yeah.
day to day and our values and how we see the world. And also, you shared openly during our first meeting that you have and still are working on yourself
Hmm.
because
Definitely.
the work
Yeah.
never ends. And I really respected that because you were there with me. Of course, I'm still working on myself and have worked on myself and still will work on myself. So you didn't come like you knew all the answers.
No,
You
because I
came,
don't. No.
you don't,
Yeah.
but you came very professional. Like you showed yourself, like, you can trust me to guide you because this is what I know and I've been through this and I'm working on myself and this is what happened in the past and I'm human and we'll do this together
Hmm.
and our values and beliefs aligned. So I think just like you said, connecting and clicking with
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
is deeply important. And that's why I think you need to meet
Yeah.
at least over video,
Hmm.
obviously, not just a phone call or in person if possible, because you know instantaneously if you connect with someone. I
Yeah.
feel if
Yeah.
you see them and
Yeah.
experience the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if well, as a doula, I coach also the during pregnancy and not be present at the birth. That's also a
Yeah.
possibility. But to be at someone's birth, I always do a first meeting in person, because
Yes.
I'm like, well, I am there with at yeah the most intimate situation in your life, so
Yes.
you have to feel how someone is to be around.
Yes.
Just to
Exactly. Whether
feel
you want to
present.
work with whether you want to work with the person or not, it works both ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's important. It is
Yeah,
the most intimate, raw, primal experience you'll
yeah,
ever have.
yeah,
So of course I needed to feel deeply
yeah,
trusting in you
yeah,
and being able to fully just let go in your presence. And that was what you created that I was able to do. You created that through the whole experience we had together. So yeah, having a doula is having you in my life has just been so, so, so key to the birth experience we had. So thank you again.
yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, for
And thank you
trusting me,
for
because
coming.
it's an honor.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you. And listeners, if you have any questions to me or to Mariana about anything to do with what we've spoken about, please reach out to me. And I'll obviously put Mariana's details in the show notes as well, so you can reach out to her. But if you want us to do a follow up podcast or anything, please let us know. We'd be honored to do that. And thank you for listening. And Mariana, thank you for being here and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, much love. Mwah. Speak to you all soon. Bye.